Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome all of you to today's daily quiz session with us. And before we begin, a gentle reminder to kindly fill up the Google form that has been provided in the description box of this video. Why and how will it help you? Because if you fill up the form, we can reach out to you immediately through your details and arrange a one-on-one online counseling session for you, which would provide you expert guidance right before the upcoming CSE Prelims exam. And now let's focus on the first question on this screen. The question comes in the form of 3 statements and it talks about Corruption Perceptions Index or the Global Corruption Index. You might have understood why has this question been taken up for discussion today? Because in the Indian Express and in the Hindu, in fact in all leading newspapers, we have this research done by an international organization which releases the Corruption Index. According to the index, which is ranking about 180 countries on a scale of 0 to 100, to check and gauge the level of corruption in the public sector in these countries. And in this index, India has scored 39. Now, back in 2022, India's score was 40. And in 2022, while India ranked 85 in the recent index, India has actually come up a certain more positions. Now, talking about this index, the question has been taken up in the same regard, and the first statement says the Corruption Perceptions Index or the CPI is a measurement, an index which ranks countries by their perceived levels of public sector corruption, as determined by an expert assessment and opinion surveys. This is absolutely a valid statement here because that is exactly what the index is all about. As I said, 180 countries are ranked on a scale of 0 to 100. 100 representing least level of corruption, while 0 stands for worst existing forms of corruption. And the purpose is to identify the levels of corruption and the levels of law abidance in various countries. So the first statement is valid here. The second statement says for the sixth continuous time, Denmark has secured top position as per this Global Corruption Index 2023. Once again, this is a valid statement because indeed Denmark has topped the index with an amazing score of 90, to be followed very closely by certain other countries like Finland and New Zealand. Now, talking about the third statement, it talks about this index that the organization that publishes this index is referred to as Transparency International, and it has been doing this since 1995. Well, this is also a valid statement here because indeed it is the non-for-profit, non-governmental international organization Transparency International that's based out of Germany, that's based out of Berlin. But what does it do? Now, it is trying to combat global corruption. In fact, Transparency International has made name particularly for 2 important publications done by it. While one is referred to as the Global Corruption Index that we are talking about, the other is referred to as World Corruption Barometer. Now, World Corruption Barometer is the name given to the largest survey done worldwide to gather public opinion about corruption and how to combat it. So therefore, all 3 statements here are valid and D becomes your correct answer. With this, let's proceed with the second question on your screen. And here we have 2 statements to analyze. The first statement talks about Bondla Wildlife Sanctuary. It says Bondla Wildlife Sanctuary in Gujarat is known for housing. It boasts of Indian peafowl. Half of this statement is correct. And before we think and understand why, it's good to remind ourselves why has this question been picked up for you? Because of an article in the Indian Express that talks about a lake in Goa that's referred to as the Carambolim Lake. Why is it so famous? Because Carambolim Lake is known as the hotspot. In fact, it's known as the ecosystem for variety of flora and fauna. Particularly, it's known for various species of birds that often visit this site, becoming a great touristic attraction as well as becoming a hotspot of biodiversity. It's known for white-throated kingfishers to blue-tailed bee-eaters. Now, these birds therefore present a beautiful paradise for not only bird enthusiasts, but also has been attracting tourism the world over. And in this regard, we have picked up this question which says Bondla Wildlife Sanctuary is in Gujarat. It is incorrect, because although definitely the Bondla Wildlife Sanctuary does boast of the Indian peafowl, but it's not situated in Gujarat. In fact, it's situated in north of Goa. A lot of people often confuse by thinking that Bondla also is one of the largest national parks in Goa, but that's not the case. Because if you talk about the largest protected wildlife area, the largest protected national wildlife region in Goa, then that's Bhagwan Mahavir National Park. In fact, it is known to house one more national park within its periphery, within its ambit, and that's the Molem National Park. So let's remember, being half correct, the first statement can be eliminated, it's wrong. And the second statement says, known to be the largest lake of Goa, the Carambolim or the Karmali Lake is a man-made freshwater lake. Indeed, that's true, because initially it was a man-made initiative, but later through constant deposition of rainwater, in fact, it's an excellent model of rainwater harvesting and sustainable water management as well. And this is indeed the largest lake of Goa today, but man-made and freshwater. So here, just the second statement is valid. We can say B will be the correct answer for this question. And now we proceed with the third question on your screen. This has been picked up for you due to an article in The Hindu from the economy segment, which says how Honorable President has appointed 4 new members to the 16th Finance Commission. 3 full-time and 1 part-time member. So in this regard, the question is based on Finance Commission. It says, the first statement goes, the Finance Commission is constituted by the President under Article 280 of the Indian Constitution. Correct answer. It's an absolutely correct statement. Indeed, under Article 280, the President appoints the Finance Commission to primarily look into revenue resources distribution between the centre and the state governments. And hence the first statement is valid. Coming to the second statement, it says commission is appointed every 6 years and it consists of a chairman and 4 other members. Once again confusing because half of the statement is valid. Indeed, it is composed of 1 chairman and 4 other members, but it is not appointed every 6 years. In fact, it's appointed every 5 years or as the president may deem it fit to. So therefore, the second statement becomes incorrect. A, that's only the first statement here is valid, making A the correct answer. And now, off to the fourth question of the day. This talks about, once again, a set of 2 statements, and it is dealing with the telecom industry of India. We are dealing with TRAI here, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Why? The question has been picked up because of a news clipping in the Economic Times which says the government has launched Bharat 5G portal for quantum, IPR and 6G research. So the Indian Telecom Secretary, Mr. Neeraj Mittal, has launched the Bharat 5G portal and claiming that now India's 5G rollout is among the fastest in the world, and we also boast of the second largest telecom network. And in this regard, we have picked up this question for you. The first statement says, TRAI is a statutory body that governs country's telecommunication sector and was established by the Act of Parliament back in 1997. Absolutely valid statement. Indeed, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is the apex body. It governs the telecom segment of India. So the first statement is valid. Now, look at the second statement. It says Japan had launched back in 2019 world's first full-fledged or full-blown 5G mobile networks. That is not a correct statement because this was done by South Korea and not Japan. Once again, A becomes your right answer with only first statement being valid. Now, when we talk about the TRAI or TRAI, let's also remember a development of 2000. Back in 2000, the Telecom Regulatory Disputes Appellate Tribunal was also set up, which meant that after 2000, most of the adjudicatory and dispute management functions of the TRAI were overtaken by this agency. And in this regard, we now proceed with today's PYQ. And this has been taken from UPSC 2018 Prelims GS1. It says the International Labour Organization, created back in 1919, of which India was a founding member, which seeks to promote social economic justice across the globe by laying down labour standards for worker welfare across the globe. Now this organization, the ILO, it has two conventions, 138 and 182. So the question says, which of the following options deal with conventions 138 and 182? Is it A, child labour, or is it B, adaptation of agriculture practices to global climate change? Could it be C, regulation of food prices and food security, and D, gender parity at workplace? Quite an easy question there, because talking about gender parity, the only convention that we can think of is equal pay for equal work. That's Convention 100. Let's also remember that from Convention 100 to Convention 138 and 182, all these are among the 8 core conventions of ILO. Let's remember that India has agreed to, and India is a signee to 6 of these 8 core conventions. So therefore, 138 talks about minimum age, which means to be taken up or to be appointed in any particular employment, an individual has to complete a certain minimum age. It is therefore in the direction of abolishing child labour. And talking about 182, 182 is more strongly focused on abolishing child labour because it speaks about ending worst forms of child labour, whether it be in hazardous occupations like mining, or in cracker making, or in other chemical industries, or whether it be about making underage children work. That's when we do believe that we have the 86th Amendment to the Constitution that completely prohibits any child from being out of school and being in the labour force before a certain age. So Convention 182 talks about abolishing the worst forms of child labour. Eventually A is the right answer because both these promote ending child labour. With this, let's quickly see what interesting fact do we have to discuss today. And today we are talking about something that has taken the world by a storm. Indeed, every day the news highlights some of the other misuse of deep fake, some of the other manipulation that's being done by technology. So yes, we are talking about the era of artificial intelligence. We are talking about the era of neural networks. But what is this exactly? And what consequences can it have for economy and society? Talking about deep fakes, the real threat today. Anybody's fake video, fake image is being manipulated and circulated on social media, causing ethical concerns among people. So deep fakes are nothing but digital media manipulations where a very sophisticated level of artificial intelligence is being used to program, edit and manipulate existing audios and images. Typically talking about artificial intelligence, the concept began much earlier. In fact, much before 2000, when most people were not even aware about it. Artificial intelligence came in the form of robotics or computers that were stimulating. They were trying to copy the way human brain functions. So when a machine tries to copy the neural pathways of human brain and then creates a program around it so that we can stimulate, copy and enact a human-like behavior or response, that's called as artificial intelligence. Why? Because it uses data and then it manipulates it to create a very hyper-realistic falsification. This is not true, of course, but it looks very true because of the way it's created. As I said, it's nothing but a reflection of how the human brain works. It's a very sophisticated stimulation technique. So now the name deep fake itself has come from 2 words. One is deep learning and the other is fake. So when deep learning is utilized to create image or video manipulations, it could be called as deep fakes. Now, although initially, through machine learning and artificial intelligence, a lot of promising advances were made in the field of web research, in the field of multimedia, in the field of health sector, transportation. However, today, we are entering into an era where the technology is subject to big misuse. So therefore, today it has caused up massive threats, such as not only distorting images or creating false political propagandas. It is something that the governments world over are trying to now control before the problems goes out of hand, because today technology is a very democratic medium. Anybody and everybody with a slight awareness of these techniques can end up and post anything on the social media. So in that light, cyber criminals who are into catfishing and cyber crimes often use deep fake technologies to carry out phishing attacks, financial frauds, banking frauds. In fact, they also hijack medical data. So today, as we enter into a new geopolitical domain where countries are into fights, where we are experiencing global communalism, the manipulation of such sensitive technology has indeed created a lot of political unrest. In fact, the recent Manipur violence that has been happening in India was also initially triggered by a video that was not real, that was faked. Similar goes for the Muzaffarnagar riots that happened back in 2013. That also were nothing but an offshoot of fake media messages. And hence today, from separatism to communalism, deepfake could cause a major threat. Although it has valid applications now, talking about how it can provide customized learning solutions. As I said, artistic expression, education, criminal forensic to track and trace crimes. It has positive aspects and applications too. But originating back in 2017, today, the world is worried about how explicit videos of celebrities and other public figures are rolling out in the name of deepfake. So an interesting topic, a very mutable, debatable topic, and quite relevant from the point of view of not only your GS paper 3, 4, but also GS paper 2. And on this note, I take your leave for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon with another video. Thank you so much.